If you have a two-line profile in human design, meaning you have a 2-4, 2-5, 5-2, or 6-2 profile, and you like to know what that means, well, you are in the right place because we're going to talk about it in this video. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the two line represents, what it means if you have the two line as the first number in your profile versus the second number in your profile, and then we'll go into a little bit about each of the individual unique two line profiles themselves. So in human design, we call the two line the Hermit. And if that sounds bad, don't worry, it's not. We'll get to it. I promise you, we will get to it. But the first thing to know about the two line, and really its most defining feature, is that it carries some kind of natural talent. I would even say natural genius. For what? That's going to be different for every two line. But if you do have a two line profile, there is something that you are more than proficient at. And most importantly, it's something that comes very naturally to you. The two line is not an energy that like develops its skills and gets really good at something through book learning or even really through experience. There is some like learning on the job, but it all has to do with the two line just kind of blossoming organically in what it's doing by spending a lot of time just doing the thing it likes to do. So for two lines, the way that they learn, the way that they grow and develop and hone their skills, it's not through this super structured way, and it's not in a way that can really be explained to other people. So when a two line is good at something or it does it in a certain way and it turns out to be like, oh, like that was really effective. They can't usually explain why. So if you think of someone who's just like a virtuoso in math, they often can't explain to you why they just know something or understand something, right? Because they don't get somebody else who doesn't get it. And that's kind of the way it is for the two line. Not to say that they couldn't be teachers. I learned human design from a 2-4. But for the most part, for the two line, it's not about like showing that you like showing your work, like showing that you did all this work or got certifications or read all these books, right? It's just, I'm good at this and I don't know how to tell you why I'm good at this. I just am. So with the two line, it's all about organic growth. It's all about trusting that talent, like that seed of potential, and then just letting yourself do a lot of it. And also, I'll tell you that you know what you're supposed to be doing as a two line because it's going to feel pretty easy. And this is actually where a lot of two lines can discount the stuff that they're interested in and what their talents are, because so many of us are conditioned to believe that if something is easy for us and we like doing it, that's not a skill. Like that, even more than that, it's not something that could help other people. It's not something that could make you money. And it's definitely not something that could be part of your purpose. That couldn't be further from the truth for a two line. If it's not easy, you do not have business doing that thing because the two line is all about ease. It's all about flow. I say, and this is my very overused example here, but it's all about the dancer becoming the dance, right? You just get so involved in what you're doing. So as a two line, really knowing where you're supposed to put your energy and do your thing and spend your time, it's all about the stuff that you really feel like you can get into flow with, and you're like, I don't know, just freaking good at it. I'm freaking good at it and I like it. Okay, for the most part, two lines kind of need to be left alone to just explore and do their thing so that the natural way that they will be really good at something can emerge. The two line doesn't need other people coming in and instructing them for the most part because they need to find their own way of doing it. It needs to be organic and be whatever it is, even if it looks really strange to other people. So they need time alone to do that. They often don't like being watched while they're doing it either, right? Because if you've ever done something and you're like, I know this looks weird. I know if someone asks me how this is like working, I'm not going to be able to explain it to them. You understand the process of two line. And if you're watching this, you are a two line probably, so you definitely know it. But this is why we call the two line the Hermit, because it needs time alone from other people to just throw itself into whatever it likes doing. And that is how they get really good at whatever they do. And they offer their gifts in the unique way that they are meant to the rest of the world. The other thing I'll tell you that's very interesting is that out of all the lines in what we call the hexagram, so out of all the 6 profile lines, the two line tends to be the least self-aware. And that's kind of for a reason, because it needs to just be focused on its own thing. It doesn't need to be thinking about what everyone else is thinking about what it's doing. And the two line doesn't need to do that either because it has this natural aura that attracts other people's attention. So people will see that you are good at something. And we'll get into the profiles, but there are some two line profiles, honestly, where other people are going to see it way before you do. So that's just another thing to keep in mind too. And I think it's so funny because the two line is so like driven to find that thing. It's so driven to, whether you realize it or not, have that thing that it's really good at and be doing it and be part of it and be in flow with it. But two lines are also the people who can be so good at something and already have the thing, and they're just like the last person to realize. So they're like, where's my purpose? Like, what is it supposed to be? And I'm like, it's this freaking thing you're doing right here. Like, you're amazing at creating stained glass images. You're incredible at coding. You are so good at, directing other people in a group. Like, you are so good at writing, literally whatever it is. And the other thing about the two line is that it considers what it's doing play, right? It's like, oh, I get to do this. And that's another thing that we're conditioned to believe it could never be worthwhile. And to other people, it may look like you're just playing around because with the two line, again, it can't explain its process. So someone might be looking in at you and be like, you're not working. You're not doing anything. You're just like throwing clay around, right? But they don't realize that you are becoming a master sculptor or you are whatever. So if you have the two line as the first number in your profile, this means that the two line is your conscious profile line, which means that it is the energy of the two energies in your profile that you will be most conscious of. It's the one that you will be most aware of and the one with which you will most likely identify the most. So you would probably see yourself as the hermit. Then if you have the two line as your second number in your profile, this is wait for it, your unconscious profile line. And this label is a little bit misleading because it's not that you would be completely unaware of the hermit energy in your aura, in your life, whatever. It's more that this is not one that you would primarily identify with. Because technically it is supposed to be completely unconscious to you, but we don't live in a vacuum. So, through your interactions with other people, you've probably had someone say to you, oh, you are this way. You are, describes the two line. Or people have treated you a certain way and you're like, methinks perhaps I come across this way. And it's through that you've realized, this seems to be part of my energy. So you probably know it, but it's just not the first thing that you would identify with. However, it is just as important as your conscious line is in playing out your purpose with your profile and with your human design chart. And that's why it is so helpful to know your unconscious line as well as your conscious. Now, if you are a 2-4 profile, you are here to, be the hermit, be the natural genius at something that you really enjoy doing. It could just throw yourself into, and then be called out by the people closest to you to share those talents. So the 4 line, the opportunist, is all about close connections and deep connections. Your tribe, your people, whoever, right? But it's the people with whom you actually connect, the ones that you know, like, and trust. So it's going to be the people in your close circle who are going to be calling you out to share your gifts and also provide the support and the environment that you need to feel safe enough to do that. So you're not going to be like the 2-5 profile who does that with like strangers or is called out by strangers. But that does not mean that you cannot have a widespread impact. A great example I like to give for 2-4s is Oprah. She's a 2-4 profile, and I would say that she has made an impact on a lot of people she will never meet and has never met, right? These people that she's never going to have face-to-face interactions with. But what I mean is that in order to make that impact through the 4 line, it's just through the people who are closest to you. So it's not like in order to make that widespread impact, you're going to meet a lot of, like, interact with, and play out your purpose with a bunch of like strangers. Now, if you have a 2-5 profile, you're going to be similar to the 2-4 profile in that you have this natural talent, ability, genius that you get really good at by just throwing yourself into doing what you love. However, the 2-4 is going to be called out by people who are close to them. So like their quote unquote tribe, the people they know, like, and trust already, people who they have a rapport with. For the 2-5, that's not really the case. You're here for a very, very widespread impact that's like more obvious and more direct. So what I mean by that is you are here to interact with a lot of different kinds of people. And most of them, the people who you make your impact through, they're going to be people you don't know very well. So you will be called to action through people who just like kind of seem to come out of nowhere and are like, hey, you should share that talent with the rest of the world. And you're like, oh, where'd you come from? How'd you get in my house? But they're right, probably. So it's through these people that you are going to quote unquote universalize something. Most likely you're going to universalize your talent, like whatever you're good at, you're going to be impacting people on this wide scale. So it's going to look like your talents have become universal. Now, if you have a 5-2 profile, you will be similar to the 2-5 because you carry the same two energies. However, you have to remember that when we're talking about profile, the order of the numbers really does matter and it does make a difference. So for you as a 5-2, you are going to see yourself as the quote unquote heretic, which is also known as the general. It's this energy of authority and competence, problem solving, and also quote unquote universalizing something. So interacting and sharing something with a lot of different kinds of people, a lot of people in general. However, you have your unconscious energy of the hermit. So you're also really naturally very talented at something, and you probably wouldn't be as aware of that as a 2-5 would be. As self-aware as the 2 line can be that it's good at something, right? But because of this, like your quote unquote motivating factor, like what your mind sees that you are here to do is to go and fix things and be a leader and be a solution bringer. And so you need to learn to trust your natural talents and abilities and also understand that other people see you as the hermit, even if you see yourself as the person who goes in and gets involved. So they may be like, hey, you're really good at this, but they probably won't be the person motivating you to do that as much, which is why we say that the 5-2 has to be a pretty self-motivated profile. So if you don't feel motivated internally really to do this thing, like it's unlikely that other people are going to call you to action as much. Like it's up to you to decide to do that. Now, if you have a 6-2 profile, also known as the role model hermit profile, you are here to be a role model for other people. In particular, you're here to be a role model for living as your authentic self based on your natural talents. So this could be that you become the role model through embracing and living out your natural talents and working based off of them. Or you can be a role model to other people for your talent. So what I mean by that is you could be a role model for other people in embracing what's easy and what comes naturally to them and showing them how well life can work out for them if they do that based on, you being the role model for that. So as the 6 line, like you really need to believe in yourself and trust in your natural talents and know that that's going to be enough to make you this role model for other people and help you fulfill the role that you are here to fulfill, because it will. That's literally exactly how you're going to do it. This is exactly how you are going to be that role model for other people and inspire other people and be the aspirational figure for them. So that is it for this video on the 2 line. If you would like to learn more about the 2 line, in particular your 2 line profile, we really did just like scratch the surface here. So if you'd like to learn more, I have profile deep dive audios, which are about an hour each, and I will link those down below in the description so you can grab one if you would like. Also, I've been forgetting to say this in my videos, but if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like. And if you want to get more content like this regularly from my channel, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and the bell for the notification every time a new one comes out. But otherwise, that is it. As always, thanks for being here. You rock, and I will talk to you next time.